This is lesson 1:1 or 1:1 vocabulary list from Signing Naturally. There are sort of two different sections in this vocabulary list. The first one is WH questions or open-ended questions, and they require a very specific non-manual sign or facial sign. And then the other ones don't. So when you practice these WH questions, make sure that you practice the non-manual signs with them. Okay, so the non-manual signs, there are two different types of non-manual signs for questions. WH questions or open-ended questions have eyebrows down and your head back a little bit. Like, what? Open or yes, no questions, like, is this yours or do you like pie? Have eyebrows up and head forward a little bit. All right. So they're called WH questions, even though how isn't a WH question. They're called WH questions. They will all have that eyebrows down, head back a little bit, non-manual sign with it. Okay, so the first sign in this vocabulary list is who. Who can actually be signed three different ways. The first one is like an L hand shape on your dominant hand. You'll put your thumb on your chin and you just wiggle back and forth, but with that non-manual sign, who. Who. The other option is to bend your finger a little bit. Those are the two I'm going to recommend that you use. Just pick your favorite, but know that other people might use the other one. The third one is a lot older. You normally just see older people using this one. And you're basically drawing a circle around your mouth, okay? Ooh. Okay, the next one is what? You want two flat hand shapes. Your palms will face up, and this is going to happen about at your waist level. I'm going to move mine up a little bit just so you can see it. Back and forth, so it's in and out, like a mirror image, not moving together, okay? Back and forth, back and forth. Scoop my chair up a little bit. What? Now, be careful with transfer error on this. In English, we use the word what in two different ways. One is a question, like, what's your name? The other one is like, that's what I meant, or something like that. That's not a question, and that's not this. So just be aware of that. All right, the next one is when. You want two one hand shapes. Your non-dominant hand should have your palm facing you. Your dominant hand should have your palm facing out. Your dominant hand is going to be the one that does the moving. That is the case all the time. Your dominant hand is always the leader hand. It's always the one that does the moving. So two one hand shapes, palm facing out on the dominant, palm facing you on the non-dominant. Your dominant hand will move, do a little circle and touch. Okay, now make sure that you have that WH expression, that non-manual sign. When. The next one is where. That's a one hand shape again. So your palm is squished closed, not open like this, but closed. Same as the sign for when. And your dominant hand will have your palm facing out. For where, you just go tip back and forth. The next one is why. It can be signed two ways, and then there are kind of some variations on that as well. So we'll start with my favorite one, which is a 5 hand shape. And then you're going to wiggle, like flutter your middle finger back and forth, but it's going to be pointing toward your forehead. So why? The other way of doing it is to start with a 5 hand shape. Your palm is going to kind of face your face, and then you're going to pull it out and end with this hand shape. Okay. Why? Whichever one you like better is the one you can use. I've also seen sort of a combination of the two, which is this movement, why, or coming out once, why. All right, that is why. The next one is how. You want to just kind of thumbs up hand shapes with your palms facing each other. Your knuckles will touch, your first knuckles, and then your dominant hand will rock back and forth. How? This is mostly the sign for like directions or instructions. If you're just asking, how are you? It's a little bit of a different movement. It's a lot softer. How are you? We'll learn that later. All right, the next one is which. You want two thumbs up again, like you did with how, only your palms mostly face you, not each other, you. Okay, so be looking at your palms. And then you're going to move your hands up and down, which. The movement here comes from your elbows, okay, which. Let's see if there's anything I also wanted to tell you about that. I don't think so. Okay. The next one is name. The next sign is name. So you want two, like number 2 hand shapes, then close them, and then look at your palms. Okay. You're going to tap with your dominant hand against your non-dominant hand. Name. Name. Copy. Copy is what's called a directional sign, and we'll learn more directional signs later. Directional signs sort of already incorporate the personal pronoun. So in other words, if I were going to say copy me, I wouldn't just sign copy and then me. I actually put the two together. So this is the sign for copy. This should be your dominant hand. Copy, copy. That's kind of just copy in general. But if I'm telling you to copy me, I would do it this way. Copy me. I will copy you. All right, copy me. For probably this foreseeable future, you will be copying me when we learn signs. So copy me. All right, the last 8 or so signs on this vocabulary list are personal pronouns. The easiest thing to remember about personal pronouns is that they're literally just pointing or a variation on pointing. Okay, so remember that. So you want a number 1 hand shape, and then you use that to point. So I would be pointing to me. I or me. Okay, you. And then he, she, him, or her, or it can be anywhere you decide. He, she, if the person is there, then you just point to the person. If we're talking about, say, my brother and he's not here, I can just pretend he is and put him right here. So he, she, him, her, it. The only thing you can't do is do you. All right, so it has to be somewhere over on your left or somewhere over on your right. And just point one time for he, she, him, her, or it. Now, her is one you have to be really careful with, because in English, we use the same word, her, to mean 2 different things. One is a personal pronoun. That's what we're talking about today. And one is a possessive pronoun. It's the difference between saying, I like her versus I like her car. It's a different word. So this is the personal pronoun. That girl over there, I like her. All right, the next one is us or we. So again, this is just a variation on pointing. So we're going to point to multiple people, including myself, to say us. All right, so you start by pointing at, if you're right-handed, it'll be your right pec. If you're left-handed, it'll be your left. You start there, and then you just touch the opposite pec. You may also see this. It's a little wrist flip for us or we. Us or we. You plural, so this is you singular if I'm just talking to you. If I'm talking to all of you, the whole class, you. You're just pointing to multiple people. They or them is kind of a combination of all of you, only you all aren't included. It's all of them or all of them. So it's a combination of all of you and he, she, him, her, it, right? So they, or they, or they, or they, or them. All right, so that is vocabulary list, the vocabulary list for lesson 1-1 from Signing Naturally.